Hey guys, Triple B here. We've just seen some really exciting reveals coming from Japan's Champions League this weekend, and well, I may as well just get right into it. We're going to be seeing some new cards coming out of Supercharged Breaker, which is going to be featuring Pikachu EX. Pretty exciting stuff. The artwork for the booster pack does obviously have Pikachu. It's kind of like the main guy for Pokemon, so yeah, they want to throw him on as many things as possible, and makes sense when he's the main card in the set. Very interesting attack and ability on here. The ability is called Tenacious Heart. If this Pokemon has full HP and would be knocked out by an attack, it's not knocked out and it just goes down to 10 HP remaining instead. A little bit silly, only has 200 HP, so like not a lot on there, but effectively being invincible, and it's a basic Pokemon, so you could scoop that up with Penny and then just kind of loop into it. Honestly, seems playable. Also, being a lightning type, you could check in like a Miraidon deck, search this out with Miraidon to turn on Area 0 Underdepths, which we've seen them already starting to run with Mewtwo EX, but having Pikachu that's got an ability effectively making it invincible for one shot, not a bad call to have at all, and the attack also pretty threatening. Topaz's Bolt is going to do 300 damage. You do have to discard 3 energy from this Pokemon, and it's looking like you need a Grass, Lightning, and Steel energy to use it. But there'll be some ways I'm sure we can cheat that out on there, and 300 for 3 energy on a basic. Yeah, honestly, if someone finds a way to crack that deck, it's going to be absolutely insane. We're also getting a new Magnemite, Magnetone, and Magnezone evolution line. The Magnemite's basically just there to evolve into Magnetone. Magnetone, you can choose to knock this Pokemon out, and if you do, you get 3 basic energy cards from your discard pile and attach them to your lightning Pokemon in any way that you'd like. So you're going to be comboing that with the Pikachu, and yeah, that deck's kind of just built itself off 2 cards right there. Obviously, knocking yourself out, you are going to be giving up prizes, but we've seen with Dusclops, it's not really an issue. Sometimes going behind on prizes is fine. Turns on your counter catchers, turns on your Defiance Band. Defiance Band on Pikachu, you're doing 330. You can be one-shotting a Charizard EX. Kind of relevant. We're getting the Magnezone with it as well though. Magnetic Cooperation, 80 damage. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now confused. During your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon can't retreat. So you're kind of making it that like, hey, unless you have a direct switch out, can evolve through, or another way of pivoting around like Petrant EX, or maybe that Gengar that moves itself into the active, they're going to have to do a coin flip to see if they get an attack off. It's costing Lightning double colorless though, so I'm not too sure how relevant this will be in Standard, but for like formats like GLC or even my own budget build battle tournaments or on over on Limitless, this could definitely be an interesting card to experiment around with. Terrapagos getting its first single prize card as well. It's being colorless, obviously is kind of its thing. It doesn't have a type, but then it has as many types as it wants. 120 HP on a basic Pokemon, nothing too groundbreaking there, but the attack is really interesting. Prism Charge lets you search your deck for 3 basic energy of different types, then attach them to your Terra Pokemon in any way that you'd like. So it's another way you could be trying to get that Pikachu online without having to obviously knock out a Magnetone, giving up prizes. If you want to just use an attack instead, you could be doing that. Kind of an alright one if you're going second and you have basic EXs or basic Terra EXs in play. Trying to charge up your stage 2s with this might get a little bit awkward because you're not getting those online until your second turn of the game ever. And then if you're using this as an attack to charge things up, your opponent's going to use an attack to knock things out. A little bit risky, but yeah, if you're going second, like building a go second deck to get basics charged up, I could see this being somewhat relevant, and definitely interested to see what people cook up with it. You guys have any ideas for decks you'd be slotting this into, or is it just kind of a nice tool to have in your back pocket for if something gets released down the track? A new supporter card, Cryokirono? We're getting a new supporter card. Definitely said that wrong probably 3 times over, I'll be honest. You get to search your deck for 3 Pokemon EX, reveal them, put them into your hand, then shuffle your deck. Pokemon search is always solid, and the fact that you can get 3 EXs off this isn't bad. Like potentially if you go second, being able to grab yourself a Squawkabilly and 2 basic EXs that you want to get into play. Yeah, could be really interesting. Effectively becomes a draw supporter when you're using it to get something like Squawkabilly, Mew, and an attacker. Not a bad call. Or even into like a very, what's the best word for this? Very like evolution dependent deck. Like your Charizards, for example. Charizard's an EX Pokemon, Pidgeot's an EX Pokemon. You get a second Charizard if you want. Or something else. Like it could be an interesting piece to go into. Or even go like Rare Candy into Pidgeot, Pidgeot into this, grab your Charizards off of this. yeah, definitely an interesting concept. I feel like probably going to be a bit more useful for like the basic EX decks where you want to be just benching out immediately, like for Ogerpon as an example. We're seeing like Raging Bolt out Ogerpon. You want a bunch of Raging Bolts, you want a bunch of Ogerpons out. If you had this to get 2 Ogerpons and a Raging Bolt, it's not a bad call. I feel like you'd still likely want Sada to be your supporter for turn more often than not, but having this as a one-off in the deck isn't a bad shout, especially when you have ways to target it, like being able to bench Luminion, grab this, then fill your bench up with 3 other EXs. Definitely an interesting piece. I'm not sure that it would be run in like high counts in decks, but as like a 1 or potentially 2 ofs, I definitely see this seeing play in the future. We're getting a new TM. Can't even remember the last time we got a TM. Is it like Ground Zenith? Crisis Punch? Was Crisis Punch the last TM we got? Nice. Well, I'm glad to see that they're keeping these around. It's a really interesting mechanic for the game. But the Technical Machine Flowrite, the Pokemon this is attached to, you can use the attack of this card. It's kind of just, yeah, the standard TM text for us there. But the attack it's going to be giving to the Pokemon when you have this attached is Flowrite. You discard all energy from this Pokemon. If you do, you're going to heal all damage from each of your Terra Pokemon in play. It's costing a Grass, Water, and Psychic, so a little bit awkward. If you're using it on like a colorless Pokemon though, you could use Glass Trumpet to get those out, or having Psychic in the attack cost, like maybe Gardevoir slots this in, and then you just manually attach a Grass and a Water somehow, potentially like Crispin to get it charged up. It's an interesting one. I feel like it's a good piece to have. I just honestly can't think of decks off the top of my head that would want to be running this, but like in the future, if we get kind of like more tanky builds floating around of decks, yeah, could definitely be relevant. Or if spread becomes an issue ever, it's just another solution we have to that problem. We do already have Fido EX that when you evolve into it, heal all damage from your evolution Pokemon. They have to discard the energy from them though. This is just discarding the energy from the Pokemon using this attack, but it's limited to just healing your Terra Pokemon, not just blanket statement of like all evolution Pokemon. So it's good that we're getting more healing options, and yeah, I'll be keen to see if this ever sees play. I'm kind of on the fence about it though, to be honest. Like the fact that it's your attack for turn and healing, and then it's just like, well, your opponent on their turn is just gonna attack you again. So. We'll see what happens with it. Some new stadium cards, both of them looking very interesting though. Amped Amphitheater, love that name. Basic Pokemon in play get plus 30 HP. Honestly, that's solid. Like just making bulky basics, that's good. Like there's already big basics running around the format, like Terrapagos EX as an example. We tried a deck out, was it like a week ago? I think I posted the video. If you're after a list, you can give it a sus. But you can get up to effectively, I think it's 330 HP on that as it is. You do want to be running it with Area 0 though to scale up your HP, or not your HP, your damage. But instead you could be running it with this to scale up your HP, getting up to 360 instead. If you did that, you'd likely want to go more so the route of using Terrapagos' second attack that does 180 and makes it invincible into basic Pokemon. So you're not doing like the full 220 from having a full bench and a DTE in attacking. Instead, you're just going regular size bench, but now I'm even bigger, right? Like just bigger turtle. You're only ever going to be two-shotting into things, but you have the penny loop and you're just outside of breakpoint numbers for things. So could definitely see that being relevant at some point. Also, just the fact that like your small pre-evolution Pokemon that have 60 to 70 HP, having another way that you can kind of get them outside of range of like a Dragapult taking them out, right? Like Dragapult going Hawlucha, 10 here, 10 here. All right, put 6 damage counters, take that thing out. Right? Like your 70 HP basics there, you always kind of walking a fine line of, in the Dragapult matchup, these might be gone immediately. Well, now you have another way of just being like, well, they have a bit more health. So you can try and get your Dragapult online, but if you don't have all the pieces to get it online and also get this stadium or bump my stadium, then it'll be okay, right? Because Dragapult, they're using like Pidgeot. Pidgeot's grabbing their specific pieces out of the deck. They need to get the Crystal, they need to get Crispin, or they need to have hit their manual attachments to get going immediately. So having all that and then also a counter stadium would be a bit tricky, but then at the same time, it's like, well, you also need to be able to find this turn 1 for it to really be worthwhile. So is it going to justify a slot in your space for that reasoning? Maybe, maybe not. Also a really interesting card for both Gym Leader Challenge and Budget Build Battle formats. For the Budget Build Battles, we're seeing like some pretty bulky basics coming out. Like, it's a single prize format, and just having ways to boost up HP is always a good thing, so I definitely see this seeing play in that. Gravity Mountain, though, the other stadium we're getting, it's going kind of the other route. You're going to be reducing the health of Stage 2 Pokemon by 30. That's kind of relevant. There's some things that are like just shy of being able to one-shot, like Charizard EX, for example. Into the mirror, there'll be times where you're like just shy of taking them out, and then it's like, oh, okay, well, I'll have this stadium in play. I'm not hitting enough to knock you out necessarily, but I'm just going to lower the amount that I need to hit into you. So no, I am knocking you out. Or potentially even something like Serena EX that has an attack that puts you down to just 30 health remaining. So you put a bunch of things down to 30 health remaining, and then you play the stadium. You don't even need to use Devolution TM on them anymore to get like the crazy knockouts. It's just like, put that Charizard down to 30, put that Pidgeot down to 30, put that other Charizard or something else down to 30. Gravity Mountain, oh, now they're gone. Just reduce the amount of health they had by 30. So, bit of a cheeky combo there. That's kind of the first idea that came to mind for me. But I think, yeah, just being able to lower the breakpoint numbers you need to hit into, it could be relevant. I'm not too sure what decks are really struggling to hit that final 30, but if you're finding yourself in a lot of situations where it's like, I want to be behind on prizes so I can use Defiance Band so I can get to the breakpoint number for a Stage 2, maybe Gravity Mountain becomes that instead, because now you're not needing to worry about being behind on prizes. It's just, hey, I just put this stadium down and it's like a Defiance Band's online. But into just Stage 2 decks is kind of the trade-off for that one. New Ace spec being revealed as well, Miracle Intercom. So you can only have one in your deck, standard Ace spec stuff, and you get to put 2 supporter cards from your discard pile into your hand. So it's sort of like, oh, what's that card? Burst Seeker? VS Seeker? I think it's VS Seeker. Yeah, that used to be in the black and white era. It's a great card for like Gym Leader Challenge and Expanded. It's heaps good. But now we're getting it effectively better, right? Instead of grabbing 1 supporter, you're going to get 2. But the trade-off is that it's an Ace spec now. I'm not sure if this is strong enough to justify running it over something like Prime Catcher or Unfair Stamp, which effectively just work as supporters, but on an item card. Instead, now you're getting an items card that's going to let you use 2 supporters again. So it's like, well, they're once per turn effects, or do I want to use something that leaves my once per turn effect open for a different utility, right? Like it's like, hey, I can use Unfair Stamp that's basically like a Roxanne and get into a boss and have a Gust effect, or I can use Prime Catcher and get a Gust effect and a switch out for myself and still use Research to get into a new hand. So just being able to use an Ace spec to get your supporters back, it's interesting, right? Like we've already got Pal Pad to put 2 supporters back into your deck, and then you just need to find a way to get them out of the deck. I don't know that I'd want to give up my Ace spec slot just to, instead of having to find them from the deck, get to the hand, right? Like we have things like Pidgeot that's like, hey, Pal Pad, put the supporters back in the deck, Pidgeot, just grab that, or Gallade, just grab that, or just naturally draw into it with something like Bibarel or Forest Seal Stone for it. Like there's a lot of other ways you can just recur your supporter cards. So I'm not sure that I'd want to give up an Ace spec slot. Maybe I'm wrong though. Like, is there any decks that really stand out to you where you're like, no, I would love this. This is a good card and is better than Prime Catcher for this specific reason? Because like, yeah, if you have any of those, let me know in the comments. And then there is just a little bit of a breakdown of the other releases we know coming out. So we're going to be getting 9 EX starter deck generations, which I'm keen for these. They're going to be featuring a legendary Pokemon paired with just another Pokemon from their generation. So I think the first one we know about so far is Lugia EX and Tyranitar, going off the information on PokeBeach here. So yeah, keen to see what else we get. Because like for Gen 1, we have what for legendaries? Zapdos, Articuno, Moltres, Mewtwo, and I guess technically Mew. So like one of those getting a new EX card and then paired up with something else from that generation. Like keen to see what comes of it. From the other ones too, like Gen 3, are we gonna get like Groudon, Kyogre, or Rayquaza? I could see Rayquaza. I feel like it'll be Rayquaza for Gen 3. The other ones though, yeah, I don't know. Very interested to see what they do with it. We're also getting Terrestrial Festival, which is going to have all the EVs and its evolutions. January, we're going to be getting the Battle Partners, which is like the owner Pokemon mechanic is making a comeback. In February, we're getting the Steve's Beldum and Metagross, and then Marnie's Morpeko and Grimmsnarl EX deck, so that's kind of like the owner Pokemon. We'll likely just be getting those in our March set. It's kind of going to be a combination of, yeah, those decks should just be March next year, like the beginning of next year's block. We'll be getting those cards starting to come out. And then we know there's the Team Rocket set coming out after that. And then it looks like some black and white format era returning things. That's probably not the best words. Black and white generations coming back. So Black Bolt and White Flare, and then Heatwave Arena, which to me sounds like a Heatran set. Now, the other thing we did get revealed from Japan's Champion Leagues was the winners of the illustration contest and some runners up. So the winners, they're neat. I don't know, I was kind of hoping for like some different things. The Pikachu one, it's chill, like I like it. It's just like a cozy picture. The Feraligatr though, that's sick, and I'm happy that we're going to be getting a new Feraligatr card at some point. And then the Toxtricity, I'm kind of mixed on it. It just feels like the standard EX card. Like that just looks like it would already be on a card. Mixed feelings on that one. I don't know. Did you guys suss out all the artwork before? Like, did you keep up with the reveals for this? Because I don't know. I kind of wish we got something else for the EX one, but not trying to discredit the artist in any way. It's definitely a really cool card, but it just kind of feels like, it's just a standard EX card. The runners up though, we are getting to see there's a Meltan, an Absol, the Eevee is really cool, another Feraligatr, and then these two Flygon cards, I like them. The one on the right especially, like he's just like going into a dive. I'm like, yes, that give me that on a card. These are all likely going to be coming out, well, not these ones, the winners are likely going to be coming out as like Pokemon Center exclusive cards. So they did that as like the illustrator things. I think I have one kicking around here actually. I do still. I got this a while back. I keep meaning to put it in my GLC deck. It's like the illustration rare or illustration winning Bulbasaur. And it had an attack Shake and Gather. You flip a coin till you get tails for each heads draw card. And it's technically legal for play. Like it's a promo card. It's F stamped. So if we ever got a relevant Venusaur EX, it's like, oh, hey, this would be the Bulbasaur to play with it. Or for GLC. So that's why I picked that one up. I'm like, I'll just slot it into my GLC deck, but it's been a while since I've actually rocked up to a league to play that. But I have it handy just in case. So yeah, keen to see what attacks they give to the Pikachu, Feraligatr, and the Toxtricity. The other runners up though, we're getting another Eevee, some really cool Feraligatr ones. This big one, I like him. Just looks grumpy. Some Koraidons, the Pikachus. I like the kind of derpy looking Pikachus. Like it's just very cozy artwork. And then the Flygons, very cool. Surprisingly, only one Charizard. They dialed it back a bit this year on him, I guess. Absol looking really cool, and then another Melmetal. Very, very interesting card. But yeah, what are your thoughts on these illustration contests they do? And did any of you guys compete in them? Like, did you submit artwork for it? I'd love to hear about it. And yeah, if you're already joined in the Discord, maybe send it through in there and take a look at it. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the news this week, guys. Or not news, I guess. Reveals we just had coming out of Japan's Champion Leagues. Yeah, interesting. It's been a bit since I've done one of these videos. Might try and get back into the habit of doing it once a week. And if you want me to get back into that routine, just let me know in the comments down below and can definitely work on getting back into a more regular upload process for these. Hope you enjoyed the video though and are as keen for these new cards as I am. But till next time, stay golden, you Goombas.